Welcome to the first episode of our new podcast, Lions Roar. This is going to be a regular podcast where you can keep up to date on politics, on life, on what's going on in Northern Ireland. And so whatever you do, make sure you like and subscribe this podcast on whatever form it is you watch them. But today, for our first episode, I'm delighted to be joined by Lindsay. Lindsay is my better half. Lindsay is going to talk to me. I'm going to talk to her. We're going to share some questions that we have had shared with us over the last number of weeks for this first podcast. And so we're talking politics, talking life, talking all that good stuff. So how are you feeling?
Yeah, good. Bit
Excited?
Nervous. Oh yes, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, by the way.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Our first guest. So let's get started.
Okay.
First question we have received is, how did you both meet?
And
This
do
is
you
supposed
have
to be
a getting
politics
together story?
podcast. Yeah, it was supposed to be a politics podcast, so this is really one for you to start.
Oh, I'm happy to start with that story. Thanks. How did we both meet? So, well, I suppose we go back to Stormont Presbyterian whenever I was working there as the youth worker, and you were in charge of the Scouts and the Cubs. And do you remember I had to organise that service, the youth service, and I'd only been there a couple of months, and I was told that the person to phone who would help me out with it was somebody called Gavin Robinson, and I got the number for you, and a bit nervous obviously, first few months in the job, didn't know everybody, wasn't really sure who I was phoning, knew I was asking for help, but I remember sitting in the flat I was living in, dialing the number, 1, 2, 3 rings, thinking, oh, please, maybe don't pick up, I can leave a message. And the phone is answered with a, hello! I was like, hello? Who is it?
It's total lies.
It's not! Because there was, remember all that background music? Because you were out at an event and you obviously couldn't really hear. So rather than answering the phone politely and nicely, you were quite gruff with me.
My goodness.
You were. That might not come as a surprise to everybody though if they know you well. So yes, and you were very helpful actually in the way that you could be, and you said you'd meet me in a week's time and we would talk through together in the church how the service should run. So a week
And
later,
it was such a nice conversation, you thought, I need to get to know this man.
well, yes, is that what you want me to say?
No.
All right. So a week later, we were to meet on a Friday night, and I think I had a window of about 20 minutes before going on to do something else. And I remember standing in the church, walking up and down, looking into the room, thinking, where is he? He said he'll be here. And in my head, I was expecting, probably because of the manner in which you had spoken to me on the phone.
Now, hang on a second. I know what you're going to say, but this is very unfair for this first episode of a podcast.
I was expecting a 65-year-old man. At least 65-year-old man. And I could see somebody who wasn't 65 standing, but in my head I was thinking, that's not Gavin, that's not him. And then I remember approaching you and saying, would you know who Gavin Robinson is? Like, have you seen him? And you were like, that's me. And then I thought, oh, okay.
This story gets embellished with years.
No, little bit different manner this time from the person I was speaking to on the phone. And actually, you were very helpful. And I like to think from that day onward, you were then smitten with me, and that's how we got together. And
you were so bowled over.
Yeah.
That I was so handsome or so
Absolutely.
different from what you'd thought I might be.
Yes, and then
Which one?
Yes, I said yes. No, I think there was a connection, wasn't there? Yeah, and I think quite soon after.
So.
Well, you're stuck with me now. Quite soon after that, you asked me a favour. You asked me a favour then to help with something for Scouts, and then as a thank you, I think that was our first date, was it?
Something like that. Yes, let's go on to the next one.
Okay, what's the next one? Oh, let me read out the next one, because then maybe you can answer it if I can get it up on my phone. So, this is a good one. How do you balance political life and family life, and what do you enjoy doing when you're getting some downtime? So you can take that one, Gavin.
Okay, so how do I balance political life and family life? I think very well. What do you think?
I think we've had a learning curve of that. I think that's probably fair to say.
I would do it very well. have to realise that I have to prioritise family time and prioritise all those chores that I have to do, and that cooking and cleaning and all those other things, and it works very well. Yeah.
Yes, I think, I mean, being more serious, I think we have learned over time, haven't we, over these last few years? We have to work at it to make it work well. So we do have to be sensible, particularly now with how busy you are, about how we do prioritise time for us, the two of us, and for the three of us, and I suppose for the four of us when you count Duke as well in the mix. So what sort of things do we like doing then in downtime as a family?
Walking the dog.
Yes.
Walking the beach.
Yes, that's still walking. Yes, that's
everybody
still
recognises that I am a man of fitness. That's what we enjoy doing. I mean, like, so balancing work life. So you go away to London 3-4 days a week.
Yeah.
You get out of the car on a Monday morning, or you let Ruben out of the car at school, and I say, see you Thursday. And that's just something we've had to get used to.
It is,
you know, that you're away for 3 days. 4 days, and recognise that when you're home, I've got party things, constituency things, family things, and you try to get a balance between all of those things. But walking is a thing we do. We have our routine walks. Usually they either end with or halfway through get interrupted by ice cream.
Or a cup of tea.
Or a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Or both.
And normally that's the
good.
one thing we can get Ruben out the door with, a promise of an ice cream or something.
Yeah.
Hot chocolate on the way. Yeah, no, we definitely, I think we do a lot of walking. We've done that for the last couple of years, I suppose, with Duke. He gets us out of the house, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But I think sometimes we like the walking because we get time to chat, you get the fresh air. Ruben normally brings a bowl. Duke enjoys it. But we don't just, we do other things, don't we? Like, what do you do? What do you like doing in the house for downtime?
Baking.
Yes.
Cooking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cleaning.
No. I do the cleaning, and that is not downtime.
Yeah.
But you love cooking and baking, and you make lots of different things. Most weekends you try and do something, even a Sunday afternoon, and that's good.
Yeah, it's good fun.
And we get to enjoy them.
Good.
So here, do we talk about politics at home? Answer honestly.
So usually if something's happened in the news and you're not very happy, then yes, we do. We talk about politics all the time.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. What do you think? Too much? Too little? Would you like me to share more?
I agree with you. I think probably sometimes, dear help you, if there's something big that I have an opinion on, I probably do bombard you with ideas, thoughts and questions when you're at home, which isn't always helpful. I think we try not to talk about it all of the time, particularly in the evening if we get a chance to sit down together. But it's really hard not to, isn't it? Because it's at this stage now, it's so much of what you do. It's really important to, I guess, get things right. It's important sometimes even just to talk it out. I have noticed even in the last 6 months that you are a little bit more willing to talk to me about things. Only because...
For the purposes of the tape. In politics?
In politics,
yeah.
Sorry, yes, for the purposes... No, in politics. Yeah. And I think maybe that's because sometimes you do need somebody to talk it out with. I'm gonna keep it to myself. We can thrash it out and you can leave it there. And I have actually noticed that you do open up or are more willing to share with me things that have been going on, or questions or things you're wondering about.
Don't say that. No one will tell me anything anymore.
No, it's not private. But you know what I mean. Yeah, so I've actually found that good. And actually I find it then much more interesting, because I think probably in years past, maybe because I just didn't have the headspace, or because life is very busy, I sometimes find it all very boring, whereas now I probably do find it more interesting, because I feel like either I have a bit more of an idea of what's going on, or I've met more people, I know some of the issues that are involved with the people that you're talking about. So actually, yeah, the truth is we probably do talk politics at home, and we probably have had to learn not to talk about it so much, particularly with the little ears listening as well.
Yeah,
and I think that's important, isn't it?
That's true.
Be careful about what we say and when we say it.
Yeah. So here's one. How do you feel me becoming party leader has changed things for you and for us? And then I can tell you what I think.
I'll not surprise you when I say I think it's changed things a lot. I think just before Easter, probably a couple of days before things changed, we had a conversation, you and I, about where life was at and what we were going to be doing, and realising that there was an election coming up at some point this year, but having sort of had almost 9 years at Westminster saying, look, we'll go forward for election again, let's see what happens, but actually feeling quite secure in the life and the routine that we had built over those years. I feel like the first few years were really difficult with you away. I wasn't well, but even just with the little one, Ruben was 18 months whenever you first went. There was so much going on for me with health-wise, but there was just so much being at home alone with the little one. But in the last couple of years, obviously I'm so much better, but also we're at a different stage of life. So I think we laughed together and said, well, it's good, we're in a good place now. Let's go forward and see what the election brings, but hopefully it'll go well. And then life completely turned on its head. Everything changed. And I know that perhaps if we had had a conversation about the leadership, you would have said that it may well be something you aspire to further down the road. Further down the road for me looked like 5 or 10 years down the road, not a few days down the road. And certainly it all came at us very quickly. And I feel like that has probably been a bigger change than even becoming an MP was, to be honest, because of the privilege it is, but also the huge responsibility that comes with it. So I feel like life has changed for me, for us all, in ways that we didn't even have a chance to prepare for or maybe talk about. We would have talked about it and then gone forward from that, but it all just landed on our lap as such.
And I suppose like we spend time when we go out for walks and we go places, we try to go away, get away go for a walk, and spend time together. But you feel a bit more recognisable now. I feel a bit more recognisable now. People stop more, and that's fine. I don't mind it.
No.
Most of the time you don't mind it either.
No, that's fair.
Asda's always been a disaster. I know that. I'm brought to Asda every week.
You don't come anymore.
I'm supposed to help you. And I just stand and chat with person aisle after aisle after aisle. It's great because it's all local and it's people we know and people in our community. But now that feels like that a bit more everywhere else as well. So that is a change. Hard for Ruben sometimes whenever he's trying to play at Barry's or Curry's and he
I know, and he just wants you to do it with him. He wants your attention.
Do the family stuff. So it's big change, hasn't it? It's been a big change.
It has.
And there's more responsibility, but we're doing it together. And once we got through the election, Ruben stops talking about the posters being up all the time, stops talking about the election all the time. Then things they get back into sort of maybe. Am I right? Wrong? Are we able to separate and keep some of that private time, family time together?
Yeah, I think we have. Again, it's like it feels like we have to work hard at it. We have to have more conversations about how we do that, when we do that. I have even just noticed, even for Ruben now, that he is getting older. I mean, he's still little, he's still at primary school, but he's so much more aware of the job that you do, what that sort of looks like and what it means. He would talk to me at times about things he worries about for you, or things he hears people saying, or will have a lot of questions. So I feel like even going forward, we're going to have to relearn again how to do things well, maybe how to do things better. But so the leadership came on very quickly and suddenly for you, and obviously very unexpectedly. How do you feel about it now that you're in probably 6 months, is it? Like for you as leader, not family wise, I mean you as in that leadership position, because sometimes I still have to pinch myself and remember, oh yes, that's what he's doing now.
Well, so do I.
Yeah.
When people stop in the meeting, they look to me.
Yes.
As if I'm going to tell them what to do. And actually, I think over the last number of months, it's been good to see how people have come together.
Yeah.
Externally as well, I think there's more confidence out there in the community, but internally with colleagues, coming together, talking to one another, supporting one another in a way that maybe didn't feature in the last couple of years, recognising what it is we're about, what it is we're trying to achieve, knowing that we have goals for the next 2.5 years, and you can't just sit back and expect that it's going to happen or complain that it doesn't happen if you do nothing about it in the run-up. So the building blocks in place, I know I open the phone sometimes to say, right, next week I'm back on Wednesday, I'm going to a meeting on Wednesday, I'm going to a meeting on Thursday, I'm got a meeting on Friday. It's exactly what we need to do to get this done. So big changes, but anyway,
you want
so
to move
far
on.
so good.
I can tell.
So
you're
far,
thinking
so
next
good.
question. Right, well I read out the next question. Yes. So everyone usually only sees politicians from different parties debating. That's definitely fair. But are there light-hearted times too? And are we allowed to tell the listeners any of them? Oh, that's interesting. That's really one for you, about working with people from different parties.
Well, you're the cross-party champion. You're the one
that
built up relationships across parties to get things done. And that's what politicians have to do as well. None of us have a majority, in the councils or the Assembly or Westminster, so we have to build coalitions. And so that means you have serious conversations with people across the divide, but you also then have the opportunity for some fun. And I mean, you take Westminster example. Jim Shannon is now an institution in Westminster for the way in which he's built relationships. Speaker defers to him. The Speaker stood up on Tuesday or Wednesday this week and said, do not have a long intervention. Do not follow the example of Jim Shannon. If you follow the example of Jim, you will be led astray. So everyone laughs, moves on. House of Commons tug of war team. I was on that for a number.
Yes,
so
I've been
opportunity to tussle with one another, but actually have some fun and build relationships. There was a good story that I suppose I'll share on this because it's between us.
Oh, just
no one's going to hear about it. Whenever I became leader and Stephen Flynn from the SNP became leader, we both became Privy Councillors, and we had to go to Buckingham Palace to join the Privy Council. Nice occasion. But that morning somebody said there's a rumour going around that there's going to be a general election called today. Not what any of us wanted to hear at the time, wasn't expected. Next bit of the news was David Cameron was coming back. He was been dragged back to a meeting of cabinet. So as Stephen and I were walking up the steps into Buckingham Palace, I said, Stephen, don't worry about it at all. There's no general election. David Cameron's a lord. He doesn't stand for general elections. So there's no point bringing him back. It's a reshuffle. And we were just pleasantly and quietly satisfied with ourselves that there was no general election and we were going in to join the Privy Council. And we had a rehearsal beforehand. So this lovely, older, very sort of conservative establishment type lady comes down with her large handbag and she says, I'm just going to get out the rehearsal documents. And she opened the bag and she brought out the page and she opened it up and said, oh no, that's the election timetable. At that stage we knew, the election's on. This is a disaster and we need to get in here, get it done, get it out and get home as quickly as possible. So there's an experience that Stephen and I shared some of the day that, we're just looking forward to this nice ceremony and that. And then obviously, we both had to just drop sticks, head home, get the manifestos out, the leaflets out, the teams rallied, and get on with the election.
I mean, I think one of the things that I have noticed, because Ruben and I have been over at Westminster with you a few times, probably a lot more whenever he was very little and he wasn't at school and I had a bit more time, but we have visited Westminster, particularly, obviously we were there when you were working, and there is a lovely vibe about the place of cross-party work and chat. So you are always introducing me to, obviously I know most of the people here from Northern Ireland, but for MPs across England as well, and I've always noticed that there's a really lovely atmosphere. So yes, of course in the chamber there's lots that goes on, but outside of the chamber there is that friendliness and collegiate atmosphere about the place, which is really nice.
That's it. So we're on to you now again. Next question, but it's a similar type theme. Lindsay, that's you.
Yes, that's me.
You've been a successful campaigner in your own right. Does being married to a politician help or hinder you in taking forward your own projects?
That's a good question. Thank you to whoever sent that in.
I didn't make it up.
No, I know you didn't. You wouldn't be asking that. So I think the truth is, and again, this is no surprise to you, I think the answer is a bit of both. When I first started speaking out and sharing about my experience of perinatal mental illness, I think being married to you helped to get the story out there. I think we both know that. People took probably more of an interest in my experience and what I was saying because I was married to you, that particularly because I shared it on social media, so there was more interest that way than I know than what they would have. I was still Lindsay Witherow and nobody knew who I was. I get that. And actually, that's to be thankful for that, because it helped to get the story out. In those first, if you remember, those first sort of 6 months, we did have a lot of the stories with wife of Gavin Robinson, and then finally my name came, Lindsay. And as frustrating as that was, because we have always been very clear between ourselves, from whenever we got together that you are your own person, I am my own person, and that we have...
What is it I say? The least interesting thing about you is that you're married to me.
Yes, and I appreciate that. So in the early days, there was the good and the bad of it. I did find it frustrating at times, just being referred to as your wife. But the more I worked in the area of perinatal mental health and mental health in general and campaigning, and the more people I got to know, the more organisations I got to work alongside, I think that got left behind a bit. People began to know me for me and for what I was passionate about. But there's no doubt that you have really helped me in many ways, particularly behind the scenes. Lots of conversations that we've had where I've asked you to explain to me how things work and why they work, and why when I ask this question does it not immediately come back answered, or how long do you have to wait for. And actually in behind the scenes, whenever I was learning a lot more about campaigning and learning about working cross-party and how that all comes together, it was really helpful to have you to bounce off and give me advice of, say this, don't expect that, give it a few more days, don't panic yet, think, things will turn around. And so there definitely has been the good and maybe the more difficult things at times, but we have really tried to make sure that while we're obviously married, and I'm very happy and delighted to be married to you because I chose that, as we said, I am your wife, but I'm lots of other things as well, and whatever I do, I really appreciate when people meet me for me and take me for me. But
I'm no hindrance?
You're not a hindrance, hon. No.
That was my Mark Carruthers attempt there.
No, you're not a hindrance. You're a help. Thank you.
Good. So, quickfire questions.
Okay.
What 3 guests, living or dead, would you like to invite round for the Robinson house for dinner?
And who's doing the cooking? You.
I'll do the cooking. You can choose the guests.
Oh no, I hate this. I've been asked this question loads of times in different, maybe for a magazine or something else. I have no idea. There's nobody that comes to mind very quickly for me. Does that make us really boring or antisocial?
Have you met people over the last number of years that you thought would be amazing to meet and they turned out to be absolute disappointments?
Right, we're not going to be doing that on this
I know,
podcast.
but have you? Because I always think that's the obvious answer to this question. You don't want to be disappointed, so we'll keep Tracy Chapman for just me alone.
Well, maybe. But do you have an obvious answer to it?
No, I'll do the cooking.
You'll do the cooking.
Yes,
so
okay.
I have to find 3 people who'd like to come to dinner at our house, basically, is what you're saying. That's going to be hard.
Yeah, I'll be there, don't worry. Favourite film?
Right. I wish I had some amazing, iconic film. I know you have, because I know what it is, but you can say it yourself. I don't have that. So, you know what I'm honestly going to pick? Paddington.
I was with him today.
I know.
He's in Newton Arts.
I know. Ribbon and I are going to go see him tomorrow. But I love the 2 movies, but there's a 3rd one coming out in November. Remember, we showed you the trailer for it, so the 3 of us will go and see that. I think I am picking that because I just love the lightheartedness of it, and I think we've watched it many times now as a family. Yeah. So it's quite
and
nice.
We've been on the little barge.
We have, yes.
It goes through
we have.
Regent's Park and into Camden Market. Yeah. Yeah,
and Ruben and I went to see the Paddington thing in London, and we've got loads of photos, of Ruben with the Paddington statue in Paddington Station.
And we've been to Mr. Gruber's shop.
We have, yes.
It's not called Mr. Gruber's shop, but no.
Alice's or something like that. But anyway, so that's my pick, and I think that's quite a good one. Now, what about yours?
Green
film?
Mile.
I know. Say it again so everybody can hear.
The Green Mile. Yeah. Super film, and when he starts singing "Heaven, I'm in Heaven," I know. I'm normally what?
No.
Yeah, floods of tears.
Yeah.
It's a great film.
I know it is.
Right, more quickfire questions. What would be your dream job?
Not including the one you have now. Well, something that I will never be, so that therefore it is a dream job. A country music star.
Oh, you'd be good at that.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, you'd be good at that. My dream job. I've had so many.
I know. Clown, butcher.
Car park attendant.
No, right.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Dream job. I don't know.
Is this your dream job that you're in now?
It's not bad.
Yeah, well, that's a good answer.
It's not bad. Yeah.
Perfect.
I don't know. Sailing the 7 seas.
As in, being the captain of a ship, or just?
I'd be good at that, wouldn't I? No. Right. Okay. What world record do you think you would have a shot at beating?
None. No.
No?
Well, what would you say?
There's loads of them. You can flick peas with cocktail sticks.
Never tried that.
You can eat hot dogs.
No.
You can acrobat.
Still not for me.
I can't acrobat.
What
Tea
do
or
you
coffee?
have? Oh, definitely tea. Always tea in a massive big mug, preferably first thing in the morning, you know, when somebody else has got up and flicked the kettle and made it for you.
And some of us are good at that.
Yeah. With lots of milk and not very strong, and many cups a day. What about you, tea or coffee?
Nice coffee. SD Bales, consistency plug. There
Yeah.
we go. Pineapple or on pizza, yes or no?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Oh,
It's absolutely amazing.
It's
And
hard.
with chicken tikka, even better. It's called
On the
paradise
pizza?
chicken and on
Oh.
a sandwich.
oh right.
But the pineapple's the bit that I'm going for.
Oh,
here.
right, okay. I was going to say, I've never given you a chicken tikka pizza with
And there's a
pineapple.
question here, finally. If you had to get a tattoo, where would you get it?
Well, I wouldn't be getting a tattoo.
Very good.
Yeah. What about you?
Nor I.
You wouldn't.
Nor
No.
I. Okay. Well, Lindsay, thank you very much.
You're so
It's nice to
welcome.
see you.
Yeah, it is nice to see you for once.
This is a way of getting sort of family time in with work.
It is. It's a date.
Yes.
Right.
If that ticks this week's box, happy days.
This month's box, more like.
Well, thank you for
No,
joining us.
thank
Thank you
you.
for being here for our first episode of the Lion's Roar. Do subscribe, check it out. It won't always be like this. This is our introductory go. But sometimes I'll be here, sometimes it'll be other colleagues, and sometimes we'll bring people from outside of the party and we'll have the opportunity to hear and listen and reflect and challenge one another as well. So this is the first step, but it's an exciting first step, and I hope you'll join us on this journey. So thank you very much indeed.